Down on the rural route, told my folks I'm going stepping out and get the honky-tonk blues. Oh, the honky-tonk blues. Oh, Lord, I've got 'em. I got this honky-tonk blues.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Today we have an interview with Jett Williams, daughter of legendary country music artist Hank Williams. And we're going to have an in-depth interview with her as she tells us the story of her life in her own words.
The legacy of a legend. She fought conspiracy and fraud and law battles to prove her heritage, and she won it all. Make welcome to our show, Hank Williams' daughter, Jett Williams. Thanks for being here.
Oh, listen, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So, before we get to the legacy of your father and the things that he did in the past, tell me a little bit about your story.
Well, I tell you what, how long do we have?
As long as you want.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, you know, the thing about the Jett Williams story, I tell people, if I made it up, it wouldn't be as good as it really is in reality. I grew up as an adopted child, and I went on a search to find out who I was and what happened, and I didn't count on finding out that Hank Williams was my father. When I did, that was important, but what was more important was to know that my daddy wanted me.
Right.
You see, I was born 5 days after his death. He died on January 1st, 1953. They buried him on the 4th. I was born on the 6th before the sun came up. And so when I went on that search, you know, all I wanted to do was just find out what happened. But when I found out that my dad wanted me, it made all the difference in the world.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that that's something that really tugged at you for a while. How old were you when you started searching for your father?
To think back, I was probably in my late 20s. My adopted dad had gotten cancer, and he called and said, you know, would you like me to help you? And so he sent me pieces of newspapers and some scraps of paper that helped me start that search. The thing about makes my story different was that when I was born, since my dad had died, now I found all this out as an adult, so I didn't know this as I was growing up. My dad had signed a pre-birth custody contract in which he says, I'm the father, this is my baby, and I want my baby. He just didn't count on dying at 29. From there, when I'm born, his mother, my grandmother, adopts me. So she takes me to her home and legally adopts me. But she dies when I'm 2. Family doesn't want me anymore, so I become the ward of the state. I go to a foster home, another foster home. I'm adopted again. All of my records are sealed, never to see the light of day.
And so, finally, at what age were you able to prove that the heritage of your birth?
Well, that came. The courts ruled in 1987 that I was the daughter. What happened was when I went on that search, I hit dead-end brick walls. I went to the state of Alabama. I tried to obtain my adoption records. They slammed the doors in my faces. No one would talk to me. I tried to interview people. I tried to talk to people, and everybody was closed mouth. I was able to find out who my natural mother was, and that's where I started the search, because I tried to think who best to tell me.
Right.
Whether or not Hank Williams was my father.
Right.
But I found out who she was, but by the time I found her, she was dead. So I got to talk to her family, which gave me some information, but it still didn't lead me to where I had any concrete proof.
And so you finally got proof at that point when the records were open?
Absolutely. I would call it a miracle, okay? In the fact that it was there was an attorney, an investigative attorney, down in Alabama on another case. And my adopted aunt heard about him, and so she set up a meeting for me to meet with this gentleman to see if maybe he could help me, since I wasn't having any success. So he said he had a few minutes that he could meet with me, a few minutes. And I went and I met with him, and I told him my story, and I showed him what little paper I had and everything, and I asked him would he help me. And he said, well, I want you to go home and think about it, because there's 3 things that can happen. You'll never find out. You'll find out that you weren't wanted, and you may find out that you are, and it will change your life forever.
Right.
And I told him that I was ready. And he said, well, just remember that life will change as you know it. And I said, I'm ready. Well, I hired that lawyer. He successfully got the records opened and the proof. We went through the courts, and by the way, I married him.
I was going to say, he ended up spending more than just a few minutes with you.
In fact, we just celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Well, thank you. And
That's great.
Not only is he, in fact, he said I should hire a whole law firm, not just one lawyer next time.